This is a video about one interesting life plan, and one of several that sort of weave in and out to make the life plan that I've been following. And I'm sure that it's very interesting because that's been clear. And I'm sure it generates power. That's been clear. I mean, not at all sure it's the best in any way, best for me or best for anybody else, but it is interesting. And some people have never heard of it. So here it is. You load your gun with capabilities from 0 to 20 with bad happenstance capabilities forced on you by more powerful parents and society. And then from 20 to 40 by much, much better capabilities that replace all that crap put into you by your initial factory settings where you grew up. And then by the age of 40, you're halfway to adulthood. And another 15, 20 years and you can be an adult. But you're half self-made. And at 40, then you do your first serious job. And you deploy your capabilities in sort of 5-year experiments, each experiment in an extremely different direction and institutional setting, to explore the power in the capability libraries you've built up. Now, in building your capability libraries, you look on scales smaller and larger than the societies and people and manias around you, so that you've got smaller scale methods than they use and that are more specific and exacting. And then you've got larger scale methods than they use that are more long-term and strategic. And then you weave the middle from those two extremes rather than copying your peers and what they are doing and what their manias are. And this makes you a permanent outsider where you see the assumptions and limited origins and context out of which everybody else operates. And you are effortlessly able to go beyond that in scale, smaller or larger, faster or slower. And then at 40, because you have no serious jobs until 40 years old, any jobs you make for money up until 40 are just game-like, toy-like experiments, and you casually make people angry, ignore what your boss says, do what the company most needs, and then look at how neurotic, defensive, or monkey-like the response is. Sometimes you're praised and you get promoted because you happen to have a decent manager. Most of the time you'll get fired because you did something creative, and the company hates that because it makes the top monkey look like he's overpaid. So, and then what happens after 40? Well, 5, 5, 5, 5. So that brings you to 60 with proven capability. You know, your armament little library of methods, tested in 4 fundamentally different directions with major accomplishments and awards in each direction, hopefully. And that's not too hard given the size of the world and the number of places you can place yourself. And then at 60, you have to sort of get serious and then get goofy in a sense at the same time. So extremify, more goofy and more serious at the same time at 60. Because now you're proven. And so the least thing you can do is start listening to other people's advice about what works and what shouldn't work. I mean, you need, as Confucius says, at that age you should stop listening. And then you should choose areas of need and rather ruthlessly do it your way and recruit others to do it your way. Because now you have the evidence and the data that within certain limits this stuff really works. And other people will have opinions, but they'll have no evidence and no experiments because they've been living in other people's experiments that they didn't devise and were unaware of. And you've been living in experiments that you devise, and so you know the boundary conditions of, I push this too far this way, it doesn't work. I push it too little, it doesn't work. And so around about here is where I got good results. And so you've got that, and then the worst thing you can do is listen to advice from people who haven't lived 20 years of experiments with repertoires of methods like that. So stop listening and start picking an area of need and changing the world. And you know, women are good at this because they've been ruled out of a lot of careers, so they want to help dogs and cats that are thrown out by a massive flood. And by God, they organize millions of dollars and dozens of centers and hundreds of volunteers to take care of these animals that they have compassion for. And they build institutions, and they do it without ballyhooing or trying to get on TV to show that they're the biggest CEO in the world with the biggest boat in the world. And I admire them for that. Also, women are good at investing in their own hobbies and interests quietly until they have extreme capability in these hobbies and interests. And men constantly are shifting hobbies and interests, so they never invest enough in any of them to bring them to fruition. And I think there's probably a hormonal basis for this. So at 60, then you want 20 to 30 years, God blessing you with good health, 20 or 30 years of don't take no for an answer and direct the world in humane directions using the power of your repertoire and the confidence that I've tested it in 4 directions and it worked. And the guys who are complaining haven't tested any repertoires and don't have a library of methods at all and haven't tested it in 4 directions. So their opinion is just cowardice and human evil, envy and all that crap. Then I said the opposite would be goofiness. So that was the serious aspect of Beyond 60. The goofy aspect of Beyond 60 is, you know, nothing that you do is an excuse to be unhappy. And no shittiness in the world is an excuse to be unhappy. That the world is always, compared to our mind, filled with lackings and gaps and omissions. And it's a mess. And the older you get, the more your brain develops, the more mess you see. And it's discouraging emotionally in a way. That's this grumpy old man phenomena of the gap becomes so huge you think that all people are terrible and all institutions are terrible and nobody's doing anything good. That's just the media. That's just the media. And the people doing good aren't on the media. The media ignores them. They like horror and blood and violence and explosions. And the good people aren't exploding. They're just quietly doing good stuff that the media doesn't find a way to make money on. And so as soon as you tune out the media from your life, and this is a piece of advice Confucius also suggested. Confucius said, turn off the TV and turn off the magazines and detach from media after 60 and write your own books. Don't read other people's books. Write your own books. And detach from the media and the manias of your era. And write from this sort of timeless contemplation between you and what all of life is about that happens to you between 60 and 100, because during those years you don't know when your off switch will be turned off for you. And therefore, each day is a little more precious because you don't know if there's going to be a next. And that's my little rant for today.